Okay, well, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining this afternoon. Hope to make this time productive and constructive for you as we enter into a new call for applications for our Economic and Workforce Development Grants Program with the City of Tucson. I'm Barbara Coffey. I'm Director of Economic Initiatives for the City of Tucson. And I'm excited that this is my second go around now with this program that has been in place since 2012, I believe, with the mayor and council. They have long been committed to providing these kinds of financial resources to the organizations in our community to provide much needed programming in the areas of focus that we're going to talk about today. So with that, I think we're going to get started. I have a fantastic presentation coming up from Amanda Bruno, a project manager in our department with economic initiatives. Before I bring her forward, though, I will recognize there are some of our commission members here today. I do see Andy Leisner. Hi, Andy. And I see Ben Bueller-Garcia on as well. So again, they have the hard task of helping us review all of the proposals that come in. It's a daunting task, but it is rewarding as we get to really take a look at the wonderful proposals that come before us and help make recommendations to our mayor and council for their consideration for the funding that is available. So again, thank you, Andy. Thank you, Ben, for being here. And there may be others that join, so I'll keep an eye out. So without any more introduction, I'll bring on Amanda. Amanda.
Hi, everyone. I will just share my screen here and I'll go through some slides, just kind of doing an overview of the program and the eligibility requirements. And then we'll take questions at the end, but feel free to put them in the chat as they come to you. And then we'll just go through as many of them as we can. And let's see. Okay. So about the grants, as Barbara said, our mayor and council approved the Economic and Workforce Development Grant Program in 2012. Since then, the city has run the program on a 2-year cycle to support the work of nonprofit organizations serving Tucson by delivering small business support, workforce development programs, and special events. These proposals are evaluated by the Economic and Workforce Development Selection Committee, whose members are appointed by mayor and council. The grant categories that we are looking for are special events and workforce development. And within workforce development, we're accepting proposals for small business support and development, job training and educational programs for at-risk youth, job training and educational programs for at-risk adults, and long-term job training for adults. For each of these categories, your organization must be a nonprofit and have the capacity to comply with the laws and regulations around fiscal management and systems of reporting and some other legalese things. You also must be a non-taxing authority. You have to comply with the city's non-discrimination policy. And we ask that you have multiple funding sources. We won't look as favorably at programs that are only getting their funding from this single source. For your events, if you're submitting for an event, the event has to be held within or mostly within the city of Tucson. And then if it's a workforce program, it has to be same thing. It has to be held within or mostly within city limits. And it must economically benefit the city of Tucson residents or businesses located within the city. And the funding has to be kind of proportionate to the impact of the event. The event should also occur in fiscal year 23. That will be between July 1st of 2022 and June 30th of 2023. So for our workforce development grants, the purpose of these programs is to support and develop small and medium-sized businesses, including startups, and to support job training and educational programs for at-risk youth and adults to enhance the wage attainment levels in local workforce and increase the availability of skilled labor. I know these slides are very text heavy. I apologize. There's a lot of information, so just bear with me. For small business support and development, these are programs that provide advice, support, and resources to small and medium-sized companies and startups. For at-risk youth or adults, these are programs that focus on the needs of at-risk and or disconnected youth or adults and collaborate with school districts and employers to offer volunteerism opportunities, in addition to training programs. And then long-term training for adults. These are programs that leverage existing efforts and resources to increase the availability of skilled workforce, including trades and vocational programs, develop training programs with direct input from employers, provide participants with training needed to progress from entry-level positions to higher levels of pay and skill responsibility, or authority, and offer participants volunteerism opportunities. Participants should obtain a certificate or associate degree toward a job that pays an entry rate equal to or surpassing City of Tucson living wage. That living wage is $18.44 an hour based on data from 2021. Reporting requirements, I won't go through all of these, but for the workforce development grants, some of the metrics and outcomes you'll be asked to report on include the number of unduplicated participants in your program, number of new programs developed, results from client satisfaction surveys, number of hours volunteered, pre and post training wages, and a few other things. And you'll also have the opportunity to submit your own metrics based on your program and what makes sense. So just to give a couple of examples of our current grantees, the YWCA Women's Business Center was a fiscal year 21 and 22 grant recipient. They received $40,000 under this program. And to give you an idea, their goal was 576 clients served. They served well over that at 731. They also put in business plans completed. That was something that made sense for their program. So they had a goal of 32 and they had 50 completed. So they exceeded their goals. This certainly was not all of the goals that they had, but this is just an example of some of the performance measures. Similarly, Startup Tucson in the small business and startup support category, with their startup fundamentals program, they had a goal of 200 new attendees. They had over 400, and then a goal of 100 new businesses started and came in just over that with 105. And they were awarded $52,500 for this. And then one of the job training programs, so Goodwill Metro Youth Program, this is an example of job training for at-risk youth. A couple of their metrics, to give you an example, is unduplicated youth in the program. Their goal was 300. They had 556 go through it, which is fantastic. And then they had a goal to have high school completion or GED attainment at 60% of their participants. They finished with 72 participants with that high school or GED. For special events, the purpose of these grants is to increase the capacity of emerging and established special events. And these events should be events that build community, develop the local economy and tourism industry, and enrich the quality of life for residents and visitors. So the picture here is just an example of El Tour de Tucson, is one that we funded partially for this last cycle. Again, I won't go through all of these, but reporting requirements for events, some examples of measures and metrics might be the number of attendees as best as you can capture, new programs developed, amount of earned media, satisfaction surveys, number of markets engaged, all kinds of stuff. And an example of an event that we funded this last time was Tucson Meet Yourself. They were awarded $10,000 under this program. That certainly was not all of their funding. I think that was a drop in the bucket for them, but they had a goal of 15,000 attendees and had over 17,000 recorded attendees. And then they had to get creative with COVID, but they had a goal of 5 new programs developed and they developed 6. So they were pretty successful. We also funded the 10 West Pitch Festival from Startup Tucson. They were awarded $5,000 under this program. Again, this was just partial funding for them. They had a goal of 1,000 attendees and exceeded that with 1,370. And also really exceeded the number of markets engaged with a goal of 10 and had 326 different markets represented. And this is also, I'll just pause here to mention that Startup Tucson is an example of an organization who has submitted multiple proposals in different categories. That is allowed. You can do that. Just we would ask that you don't submit the same proposal in multiple categories. It should your proposal should match the category. So if you're submitting multiple, make sure they're different. This year we have a COVID hardship note. So we have extra funding from the American Rescue Plan Act. We have $150,000 in this pool, specifically available to those programs or events that have demonstrated COVID hardship. These will come with extra reporting requirements. And to qualify for this funding, you'll have to add on to your application a description of how your program or event was impacted. And we recognize that at this point, pretty much everybody was impacted. And so, you know, this isn't something that we're asking everybody to do, but if you feel like you might benefit from additional consideration under this, and you can describe why that is, please add that extra page to your application and let us know. And just a couple of other points I wanted to hit on. Like I said, you can submit proposals in more than one category. These proposals should be different proposals. The living wage in Tucson, you'll see that on all of the RFPs. This is $18.44 an hour based on 2021 data from the National Low Income Housing Coalition. Proposals may not be fully funded, and instead they could be offered partial funding, especially those that exceed 40% of the total funding pool. And like I mentioned before, it is important to us that you have funding requests in from other sources or confirm funding from other sources. And contracts are automatically renewed under the same terms for a second year, pending mayor and council budget approval. You won't have to do anything for this. You won't need to submit a new requirement or a new application. It will just be once our fiscal year 24 budget is approved and we know that we have the money, we'll renew your contract under the same terms and send that over to you. Youth, for the purposes of this program, refers to individuals 25 and under. And long-term training are programs that last more than 120 days or 960 hours. And I do just want to take a moment to show the actual page on our website that you can look at. Is everybody seeing the website now?
No.
Okay, hang on. Let's see. Can you share? There we go. Now can you see it?
Yes.
Cool. So if you go to connecttucson.com/grants, you'll be taken to this page. Applications are due the 15th of April at 4 p.m. And you can find the applications for both workforce and special events here. If you're submitting for a small business support or development program, that's also going to be under workforce. So I'll just click through it so you can see kind of what you're going to get. If you are a previous applicant, you'll maybe be relieved to know this year we've made them fillable PDFs, so you can download and type directly into the form. It is formatted so that the text will shrink and the box will scroll, so you don't have to worry about limiting your narrative or anything like that. So all of the requirements that I just went over that you'll need to know are on these RFPs. So please read through them carefully if you have any questions. And then completed applications are going to go to CMO applications at tucsonaz.gov. My contact information is also down here at the bottom for any questions. Please don't send me your completed applications, send them to this address, but if you have any questions, you can contact me directly. And yeah, so the first couple of pages will just go over the eligibility requirements again, available funding in the different categories. If you're submitting for workforce, because there are multiple categories, you'll have to let us know which one you're submitting for, which I think, yeah, so there's a box on here somewhere where you can let us know. And then a checklist of everything. So you'll have to put in your organization's contact information, the name of the executive director, and who it is that's submitting the proposal. You'll select which one it is. Special events, it won't have this option because it's just one thing. And then we'll ask for a small summary here, and then ask you to elaborate on your program in the following questions. So you'll want to provide as much quantitative data as you can to kind of just give us an idea of what it is you're trying to do and what outcomes you expect and kind of the overall impact of the program. And yeah, so those are the applications. And I think with that, I'm happy to take any questions. Like I said, they're due April 15th at 4. You can contact me with any questions offline if you think of something later, but that is what I've got.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Amanda. So really, this is an opportunity now to take questions, although I did see Bobby Verena join us as well. So just a shout out to Bobby, another one of our commission members. Again, they have the difficult task of helping us review applications and prepare recommendations for mayor and council's ultimate decision. So, but that was a great overview, Amanda. And I really do think we've come into the 21st century a little bit with a fillable PDF. So that will also be hopefully a helpful tool for you as you fill out the forms. And again, nothing too major in terms of changes from those of you that have participated or applied in years prior. Very similar areas of focus. They're still important. They're still important priorities to mayor and council and to our community, even in a pandemic period and a recovery period that we're in from the impacts of the last 2 years. And so absolutely, there are some questions coming in the chat, so you're welcome to put something there, but you're also welcome to use the raise your hand feature if you'd like, and we'll just take some questions that are coming. I see one from Zach. Is there somewhere online where we can see who is on the commission? And Amanda has responded, and hopefully I haven't looked at that listing lately.
It works.
If it's accurate, we're going to be good. It's amazing the things we have to keep up with, but we have a great commission, and they are very committed to an equitable sort of distribution of proposals. So I see a question from Linda. Linda, go ahead.
If this question is too specific to my organization and you'd rather chat outside of this, let me know. So I represent an organization that provides internships for students at local for-profit and nonprofit organizations, and they gain valuable work skills. And instead of them being paid, it pays for a part of their tuition to go to a private school. So the ultimate outcome isn't that they're going to make the $18.47 in a living wage when they graduate high school. It's to get them to graduate high school at a private school and go on to college. I know I read somewhere that priorities are given to programs whose goal is to have their graduates earn this livable wage. The goal of our program is to have them earn enough money to get through the private school to go to college.
Right. Well, and I think it falls under the category of at-risk youth, right? Or youth,
Absolutely.
Workforce development for youth. And so I think we have a lot of flexibility there. I don't think there is a hard and fast metric that would apply in that case for the living wage component. And what I would say on all of your metrics, as you look at the suggestions that are on the application, certainly there are going to be some metrics that apply to your program or your program that you are bringing forward, and some that may not. So definitely choose the metrics that make the most sense for your program or project and use those, and just be, again, just showing us that you have some clear performance measures that we can follow along and that we are able to report out. Because again, that's another piece of mayor and council's commitment to funding programs. They love to see the successes and the outcomes that are so significant and important in the community. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And I see a message from Sue to me. I'm going to read through that one. Again, if you have other questions, you can raise your hand. I think you also have the ability to put your own hand up and down. Yeah. And there's Paul. Go ahead, Paul.
Hello, everybody. I do have a question. If we are literally a brand new nonprofit that we just got our status a week ago or so, and our focus is on helping youth develop skills for employment, self-awareness, financial literacy, entrepreneurship, would those fit on any of these categories? And we are looking for funding, but we never had funding before because we are barely brand new.
So for the funding, it's not that you necessarily have to have it secured at the time you apply, but you should have some requests out there. And so we'll ask that you let us know what requests you've made. And as far as the actual program itself, yeah, I think that sounds like it absolutely fits. It's eligible. Like Barbara was just saying, not every metric that's listed is going to work for everyone. So there's some wiggle room there for you to input your own. So like for Linda's program, one of the things that they might track is how many students are admitted to college. That's something that she can quantify that makes sense for her program. And so, you just have to kind of think about what it is you're measuring and just relay that to us.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great. And I'll go back to Sue had sent me a message in the chat. She asked about in their application, 100% of the city's funding would flow to local artisans and artists, all ages, all abilities, some individuals and some small businesses. Would this qualify as workforce development for the purposes of the grant program? And I would say, not seeing all the parameters of your program, but certainly we have the category of small business assistance. So some of it might, maybe the program is better suited there, or it could be workforce development if you're helping train up people for certain. But I'm thinking that your program looks a little more in line with small business assistance. So.
And Jessica asked if you've submitted an application for an ARPA grant, can you still apply for this one? Yes, you can. Linda, your hand is still up. Is that from before, or did you have another question?
Great. What other questions are there? Oh, Karen, go ahead.
Typed it, but I'm sorry, I'm a little late. I just got a phone call from the health department saying I've been exposed to COVID. So I was on the phone for a while.
Oh, you went muted. Hit the button.
I'm sorry, I was a little late coming in, so I don't know if I've missed this. I just got a phone call from the Arizona Department of Health saying I had been exposed to COVID. So I was on the phone for about 20 minutes going through all of that. I represent a nonprofit arts guild here in Tucson, and we're kind of looking at two strands. One of them is our 50th anniversary is next year. We're going to have big events. So we were thinking of applying for this for the event. And we're going to be having events all over Tucson. Some are in the city limits and some are just outside the city limits. So our question is, how does that work?
So I think the fine print is that it has to be serving City of Tucson residents.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's like, right. Is
So
that right, Barbara?
One of our events is going to be at the JCC, which is just outside of Tucson city limits, but most of the people who will come to the event will be Tucson residents.
So what I would suggest to you, in addition to just, as you're framing your special events applications, I think what we're really looking for is economic impact to the city of Tucson. And so the more you can show out of market participation, where visitors are coming and they're having visitor expenditure, or they're staying in our hotels, which generates sales taxes. So you're starting to get the idea. That helps us generate economic impact throughout the city and for residual businesses, right? So the more you show in numbers of attendees and from where they're coming, that's going to be helpful. So that is a key piece.
The other thing is, just since I got this RFP, we've also been presented with a possible opportunity. I'm the Tucson Hand Weavers and Spinners Guild. We do all kinds of fiber arts. The possibility of maybe opening a small shop where we would actually be hiring people too. And I don't know if that's something that the other branch of this RFP encompasses.
That just may be a follow-up conversation. Amanda will, we can huddle up on that and maybe get back with you, Karen. If you'll make sure that, we have your contact information, we can help you with sort of the business location and startup activity that you might be interested in.
Yeah, that just happened yesterday. So, oh my God, I guess I do know Lynn Ruggles. I was just with her today, like an hour ago.
That's good.
Who is that? Who asked me that? Laura? Where's Laura?
All right.
Yeah, no, I was just down photographing a meeting because we're having an article published in a national magazine. So she might be in a national magazine. She's in a lot of the pictures.
Awesome. Thank you. I see Christine's hand up. Go ahead, Christine.
I'm just wondering if you can clarify something for me about applying for two different grants. Could an organization apply for multiple workforce development grants if they're different projects? Or were you talking about applying for an event and a workforce development grant?
You can apply so you can apply in the same category with different programs.
All right, but different proposals.
Yeah, yes.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
Can we apply in from the same organization in the different programs with different proposals?
What was that?
Could we apply, could the Tucson Hand Weavers and Spinners Guild apply for both the workforce development, like if we decide to open this shop, and for the event one as separate proposals?
As long as it's for a different thing. So like you can't get funding for the event in both categories, for example. So
Yeah,
like,
no,
but
these
yeah,
would be two separate things.
yeah, then yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Right. Good questions. Any other questions? I will also say that.
I have a question. This is Sue
Okay.
Benedetti.
Oh, great. Go ahead, Sue.
Hi. So separate than the $150,000 bucket for the COVID hardship, what is the other bucket? What is the dollar? How much money are we talking about as far as for a special event grant?
So let me frame this again. Here's what we have in a total funding pool. We have $750,000 in this grant cycle. And Amanda, what's our split for special events?
We've got 600,000 for workforce, 100 for special events, and then that additional 150 in the COVID bucket.
Or 5? Yeah, close to that.
Oh yeah.
Math didn't add
So
up.
yeah, 500 in workforce, 100 in events, and then 100. My math was off.
So here's how that works is, so definitely our larger pool of funding, because we have a few more categories and priorities under the workforce and small business support. So that's the larger pool. The special events pool is a bit smaller, but we have flexibility, and our commission members know that, you know, when we're reviewing applications, we're looking at for the strength of those applications, we're looking for the best proposals. We're looking for organizations that have the capacity to, you know, to do what they say they're going to do, to perform in the manner that they're describing. So there's lots of things, but also we're looking at diversity and equitable sort of distribution of the funds to create opportunities where we might not have had those before. So we're looking at lots of things when we go down this path. Where was I going with that? So what I would encourage you to do and the 150,000 additional funding that's made available by ARPA just allows us to you know, create more awards, I think, or more opportunities, or fund the best programs. And again, as Amanda said in her presentation, we feel like, you know, most everyone is still recovering from a pandemic or impacts of the pandemic, especially I would say in the special events category. So feel free to share language about that in your narratives, in your proposals, if that is indeed a fit, because again, there's flexibility there. And then we will, after we review those, figure out if yours is going to end up in that pool of funding that's awarded beneath the ARPA regulations, and we'll have a couple of additional requirements that we just have to manage for that reporting purpose, but nothing too onerous, I promise. So I hope that helps, shed light on the total pool of funding. Oh, and you asked about sort of the amounts. I think you can see from prior years in special events, almost all of our programs, and I was going to take a quick peek. Most of the special events funded were under $10,000. So that gives you some flavor of how we do like to divide up. And again, I'll say one more thing. As you're considering your budgets for these projects, really take to heart that we want you to show or demonstrate that there's other sources of funding for your programs and events, that you're not reliant completely on the city of Tucson. Again, it just shows that there'll be some sustainability, that there'll be some capacity, that you're able to organize and fundraise in the community or do other things that you need to do to support the event or program. It doesn't mean that we're not looking for new and innovative ideas and those that are maybe more emerging or starting up. But again, just keep that in mind and try to paint a clear picture of where you're headed with that. So I see a question from
Thank
Anna.
you.
Yes, you're welcome. And I see a question from Anna in the chat at the Native Music Coalition. Can we apply for both youth workforce development and COVID impact to our population? And I would say it's all one and the same. So if you have a workforce development proposal, just go ahead and express how the pandemic has impacted your population that you serve and how that's impacted your ability to provide the services or the programming. And that will work. And Dell, we'll go ahead and don't worry about finding the button. You're on. Oh, unmute yourself. It'll be the little microphone button. Okay.
I got it. Well, I'm just curious because I've never applied for any funding here in Tucson, but I'm very interested in it. And for the past 30 years, I have been teaching disadvantaged people and excluded members of society how to do printing. And now we have a glass studio to create jewelry and to create different products that are being sold that they can then learn how to make on their own and have their own entrepreneurial business. So in the United Way, our listing is art to entrepreneurship. So I've presented 4 times to the United Nations my programs to provide training, and I speak 3 languages. We speak perfect Spanish and perfect Portuguese, as well as some English, but I'm just kidding about the English. But so we do train people with hands-on screen printing, screen cleaning, exposure, all, and printing scientific decals for the industrial and the medical industries. So it's quite interesting, and I've been working with people here in Tucson. I've been here for 10 years from Dallas. I moved over here 10 years ago, but now I'm at a serious point that I'm missing a whole lot of people because I don't have the funding that I need to either maintain the programs that we have. We already have like 6 programs that are in full function, but we just are not able to continue and expand and supply the needs for those programs. So is that something that, I don't know exactly where I would apply, but I am looking into it. So does that sound like we are a 501c3 since 1994, and many awards and media and all that, but it's kind of behind me, not presently, So what do you think?
Great. No, I appreciate that. And I think it sounds like you would take a good look at the workforce development programs. And if, again, the target populations that we're prioritizing are a fit, some of the things you said resonated with skilling up people in those potential jobs in the industry you mentioned. So I would say take a look at that. And then again, realize that you and everyone on the call today, that you're welcome to reach out to us with additional questions that you might have, and just again ask any clarifying questions. We'll be happy to help you as you move forward.
Okay, thank you so much.
Amanda did put her email contact in the chat, so again, feel free to send a message if after this meeting something occurs to you and you have that burning question. But if there are others, we still have time. All right. I see some familiar faces in the room, and I'm glad that you all have been able to join. I also see some new folks, so that's great. And again, I just encourage you to work on your applications, and you've got at least, I think, plenty of time at this point to put together your proposals. The deadline again is April 15, and then we work pretty quickly as a committee. Our commission members work pretty quickly to get our considerations, our recommendations to mayor and council, and then they will take their time and give us some feedback and make those awards in time for the fiscal year to start, which is July 1 for the city of Tucson.
I also
Any
just
oth-
want to add with it. So when we say it's a 2-year cycle, that means that it's open for fiscal years 23 and 24 and any events and programming happening in those windows. We won't have one open again next year. So the next one will be in 2 years from now. So if you have something that you're considering funding that's happening within the next 2 years, now is your chance for this funding stream at least.
Fantastic. So with that, if there aren't any other questions today, we'll close our meeting, but we'll make this recording available. So again, you can watch it again and or share with others, and then you can reach out to us with any additional questions along the way. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.